as for labor costs, that's why outside of, in some areas of transportation, particularly transit operation, where there's proof that the cities that contract out a lot of it are saving money than cities that don't. Denver and Las Vegas are saving a lot of money because they contract out a lot of their transit compared to St. Louis or Kansas City, and labor costs are the big difference there. But for some large construction company that's probably unionized all the way, I mean, if half their business is with the various governments, many of them requiring union contracts, and half is with private companies, we still presume that they're going to do the best they can for either one, which is not to say that there aren't some savings that they can bring to play in the private financing. There are. It just might not be quite as significant as you see in other industries, in other fields. And there aren't a whole lot of examples of this, particularly in Missouri. It's a limited field. We haven't seen a major public-private partnership happen in Missouri, so we haven't had the opportunity to measure these savings. But where they have happened, they've been positive. If you had more private financing in and I can refer some of this to Dr. Hasley, if you have more spending in it, sorry, sure, you might have new companies come into play to address the greater private financing. There's no limitation on who can do that work. But those same companies, you're not going to, the private transportation market is very small compared to the public transportation market. So even those new companies are going to want to be bidding on government projects for the bulk of their work as well. So yes, I think even with growth and new competition within it, you're still going to see people setting themselves to bid, do whatever they have to do to bid on the public contracts.
The shortfall in MoDOT's funding resources versus their needs over the next 20 years, is that similar to other states?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I think it might even be, I honestly don't know. I think it's probably similar. I think most states are predicting these long-term shortfalls. It is dramatic. It's 50%. Now that's a very all-inclusive kind of bells and whistles shortfall. Like if we get everything we think we need. So there's certainly cuts that can be made from that projection which won't dramatically affect our transportation system. But I agree it's serious. I don't know how it compares to other states. I would imagine it's significant because we have lower gas taxes and no tolling compared to other states.
We've been over the Kansas Turnpike probably 1 million times from Colorado, and we go over it all the time, and we've seen it go up, incrementally, the toll. Is it anywhere near self-supporting, or do you know?
I do not know. I do not know the details of Kansas, but if it's going up incrementally and in regular increases, I would have to guess yes, because that's why they're raising it incrementally, to match costs as they go, as opposed to like the outer 294 in Chicago, which is well known as one with no toll increase, no toll, and then they'll just double it right away because they have such dramatic shortfalls to it. Now that's a public road. That's operated by the Kansas Turnpike Authority. That's not a private toll. But if they're doing it incrementally each year, they're doing that to do in a very serious way to match their costs each year. So it's probably operating very, very efficiently.
Yes. Tax per gallon and tax per miles driven are both a proportion of the usage. Different proportions, different entities collect the tax. I'm wondering what do you see the advantages and disadvantages of each of these?
Well, from the government's perspective, before I give you mine, the advantage for a tax per mile is that new cars like a Prius that get great gas mileage are going to pay more to the government for the system. So it's from the federal government or MoDOT's perspective that per mile traveled is an answer to really efficient cars and hybrids, and to ensure that they get the funds to spend. From my own perspective, yeah, they're very, very similar. For one way, we try and encourage people to buy gas-efficient cars so we become less dependent on fossil fuels, and then we try, on the other hand, to punish them by saying, well, now you have to pay by mile travel because you're not paying enough by gas. So it's sort of a conflict there. But what I like about it in the GPS is that you can change it by that car so that you don't punish that Prius owner who says, you just bought a gas-efficient car, a light car that's using a lot less wear and tear than a heavy SUV, and I own an SUV. So you can do that as part of it. You can adjust it to cars and gas mileage and all sorts, and it's that adjustment that I like about it. I like it in theory. I'm not sure you'll ever be able to address the very legitimate privacy concerns, and I don't think it's going to happen. The Secretary of Transportation just hinted at it in a speech several months ago, and the public reaction was very opposed to it, and they quickly backtracked from that. There was a federal transportation panel that came out just last year and recommended this, said, let's go to vehicle miles traveled, and that has gone absolutely nowhere in Congress because of the opposition to it.
So would you say that the tax per gallon is the more freedom promoting form of the tax?
Well,
instead of punishing and rewarding and all that stuff, why not just pay per gallon used?
well, I think we'll both answer that. I like a system that's making people pay for what they're using, but not pay more for it. So I don't like vehicle miles traveled on top of gas taxes. I mean, if there's a way that they can replace each other, and if you buy because you're still going to benefit if you buy a high gas mileage car, because you're still going to put less gas into that, so you still pay less. But then I'd like it to be adjusted to by that car, that Carmen Ghia. Does anybody still drive Carmen Ghias? That's putting a lot less wear and tear than my Dodge Durango on the road. They should pay less. So yeah, I think they can both promote freedom, and that really they both promote user-based fairness and a user-based system of paying for the road.
So I'll answer like an economist. There was an economist named A.C. Pagoo back in the early 1900s who talked about taxes and externalities, and some sort of hybrid. If you actually wanted to get to a Pagoovian tax, you do some sort of hybrid between miles traveled and gas tax to try to get at the externalities that are going on with maybe the larger vehicles or those who produce producing more of the negative externalities, if you want to go that route. So, no one tax is probably going to be ideal in this situation, and I don't know about the freedom part is a little bit trickier. They're conceptually they don't match one for one.
So we want a weight tax too.
Well, on the roads, yeah. I mean, but that's why the that's why the truckers pay a bit more in taxes than I do. Yes.
As I'm listening to all the ways to tax drivers and weight of vehicle, where is the incentive in all of this to make the construction of the roads better? I mean, to use new technology and to I don't know, I'm not a technical person, but even nanotechnology that would allow the roads to heat up during the winter. Where in all of this is there a balance between using and taxing the use and an incentive to build better roads?
Well, we're finally, I'll give a couple concrete examples. They finally got around in St. Louis and Kansas City, just in recent years, they finally got around to taking some of their funds and timing their traffic lights. I mean, this was a major part of the new I-64 project where they shut down the whole highway in the middle of St. Louis. And the county said, well, finally we need to time all these lights on the arterial roads that people are going to be using. So there can be an incentive in just trying to use tax dollars to the best, to get the most that you can out of tax dollars. And signalizing your traffic lights can be incredibly successful and can be incredibly effective at they shut down the whole middle highway last year and almost nobody noticed because the arterial roads, this year has been harder. They tightened up with the section they shut down this year. But last year, almost nobody noticed because there were enough arterial roads and they took out stop signs at certain cities, insisted on having a stop sign. They said, no, the county came in and said, I don't care what you want. We're taking out a stop sign and we're putting in a signalized light. And there are all sorts of examples. On the new I-64 project, MoDOT, people started screaming at MoDOT because they said, you're not even adding capacity through all of this project. They're out in the western part, but the eastern part, there's no new lanes. Why are you doing this? And MoDOT said, saying the improvements to the exit ramps and the entrance ramps, which were so tight, the improvements to the hills, it was very hilly. Some of the worst accidents on I-64 were when you come over a hill because the traffic there is into the sun each way. You come over a hill and they'd be right in the sun. Leveling it off, making improvements to exit and entrance ramps. They maintain that that's going to be a big part of that's going to have dramatic congestion effects without even adding capacity.